Thank you for joining us today on Coffee With. This is actually a very special edition. We're located at the Vicksburg Convention Center the day after the crowning of the new Miss Mississippi and the day after the end of the reign for Sarah Beth James. Our former Miss Mississippi.
Former is an excellent word.
So you look a little bit tired today.
Do I? You could say that. And I mean, I'm not the only one. I imagine that all of the contestants woke up this morning and just hit that wall of exhaustion because it's a tough week. It is a challenge to get through Miss Mississippi week, and not all of the states and the pageants are like that. But it's excellent preparation for Miss America because that's a tough week too.
I was watching last night all the numbers particularly that you were in. You had a lot of dancing to learn.
A lot of dancing.
Is that hard?
I am not a dancer. Did you notice?
No, I did notice. I thought you did really well, and I was
you.
sitting there thinking I would never be able to do that.
This is kind of a secret of mine, but I love to dance. I don't care what kind of dancing it is. Partner dancing. We were getting it down on the dance floor at the ball last night. I mean, just any kind of dancing. I love it. So I really was excited that Mallory had faith in me and put me in so many numbers and chose to involve me in that way. And he also had me singing and doing some acting. So, I mean, we literally covered the whole spectrum. I was not just a little pianist in the show, which really, I mean, I was really happy about that.
You were very versatile and did great with all of it.
Thank you.
You really did.
It was a lot of fun.
Well, I want to jump back because I remember the day that I met you, and it was not quite a year ago. I met you at a Vicksburg Warren Chamber of Commerce meeting.
They shorted me a week. I was crowned on July 10th, and my final night was July 2nd, so
they did short you.
They owe me like 8 days.
Yeah, that could be 8 days of rest that you'll get.
There you go.
Right?
There you go. I'll take an 8-day vacation.
That's right.
How about that?
Paid vacation, right. Anyway, I met you that day and actually sat at the same table with you, and we had lunch together, and you were telling us that your platform was organ donation.
Yes.
And interestingly, you asked everyone at our table, and I believe there were 6 of us at our table, if I remember correctly, who at our table had some first-hand experience with organ donation, either a family member or themselves. And this was not a meeting about organ donation. This was our monthly Chamber of Commerce luncheon. And do you remember how many people responded?
6 people raised their hands.
That's amazing.
It gave me chills. We were sitting at the table, and I'm not sure exactly how the subject came up, but organ donation has always been really important to me. And I know that I'm supposed to say that because it's my platform and all that, but it really truly is so close to my heart. And the Mississippi Organ Recovery Agency that I work with has been phenomenal in helping me this year, and we're going to continue. We've already got plans for next year going on. But yeah, I remember that we were sitting at the table, and all 6 people, 100%, had a friend, a family member, or a personal story about how organ donation had changed their lives.
I remember when you asked that question and we realized that everybody in our table had some firsthand experience. There was a few moments of silence as that all just
we all just looked around
and
everybody was raising their hand. And that's what the message that I want to get across is that this is close to home. This is not something that is far away or irrelevant. 1,200 Mississippians are currently waiting on an organ transplant, and it's just something that people don't talk about, they don't hear about. And I could probably go to another table of random people, and who knows? You know,
it crosses every social class, race, educational level.
That is my absolute, you hit the nail on the head. That is my favorite thing about my platform and about organ and tissue donation is that there are no boundaries. Race, age, gender, socioeconomic status, none of those things matter. Every single person has something that they can give and has the ability to receive and benefit from it. So that's what I love about my platform. It doesn't matter who I'm talking to, whether it's an elementary school or a church or a hospital or the Mississippi State Senate. Every single person can relate to it.
And how did you choose that as your platform? What led you to that?
It is actually a very personal story, which is why it's so close to my heart. A very close friend, Ralph McDonald, he's no longer with us, but several years ago he received a liver transplant. He had primary sclerosing cholangitis, and it's an autoimmune liver disease. And because of the lack of organs available, he was put on a waiting list. And so I remember my mom getting the phone call that he was going to receive his transplant, and going through that process with him. And I have so many years of memories with him that I wouldn't have had if someone hadn't chosen to donate and to give the gift of life. So really that drives me. His memory and his spirit drives me. But I also do it to honor the donor that made that decision, because without that, we wouldn't have any of this.
That's very true. You know, and I shared with you that day, but that's been a long time ago, and you've met a lot of people since then.
A lot of people.
My stepdad got a kidney. And
yes.
He lasted 10 more years and didn't die of the kidney disease, died of something else that was totally unrelated to that.
Yes, it was the same with Mr.
But, you know, had he not gotten that kidney, we wouldn't have had those additional 10 years.
I know,
and
a whole
I think
decade.
Of all the things we did in those 10 years, that my niece and nephew had a grandfather, and, you know, so many things.
Exactly. Mr. Ralph got to see his daughter graduate from high school, and his wife and my mom are actually best friends. They sat next to each other every single night of the pageant this week, and even spending that time with her and getting to have those extra years with her, I'm sure meant a lot.
What are some of the events that you've attended in this past year to promote organ donation?
We have done a lot. Like I said, the Mississippi Organ Recovery Agency have become some of my best friends. In fact, I remember one day in particular, I had 5 appearances in one day, and fortunately, they were all in the same city, so it wasn't too crazy, but they were all related to organ donation. We teamed up with the Mora crew in Tupelo, and we went around all over Tupelo doing things with different businesses to promote. I've thrown out 2 first pitches at the Mississippi Braves games to promote organ donation there and hand out information, register donors. But I think, and all kinds of other things, everywhere I go, every speaking opportunity that I get, I do my best to throw my platform in there and mention it, because you never know who's going to hear it and what message might come across and whose lives might be saved because of that. But my favorite part of promoting my platform this year is the numerous people that have come up to me, and they haven't said a word, they've come up to me and they will pull out their driver's license. And they will show me the little red heart at the bottom of their license that means that they registered to become a donor. And it actually happened just a couple of days ago with one of the Miss Mississippi volunteers. And that's my favorite part. And I remember every time it happens, it's just an amazing thing.
It's got to be great confirmation for you about what you chose as your platform.
It absolutely is. And other things like that have happened this year. We took on a project called Tar Wars, and it was kind of a secondary platform. I went to 20 elementary schools and spoke to 4th and 5th graders about choosing to be tobacco-free. And I was thinking, you know, I remember people coming to my school and talking to me about it, and of course I'm tobacco-free, but not everybody I went to school is, so I didn't know if I was really getting the message across or making a difference. And this little girl sent me a Facebook message and telling me that she had gone home and talked to both of her parents, both of whom smoked cigarettes at the time, and that they were in the process of a team family effort trying to quit and to be tobacco-free. And even if it was just that one little girl, it was so worth it, and it just really, it spoke to me. And there are days this year when you get tired, you wake up and you say, oh, I just want to be Sarah Beth today. I don't want to tease my hair and put on makeup and high heels. But when you get things like that and you see the changes in the people that you're benefiting, that's what keeps you going and gets you out of bed in the morning.
You and I had a chance to talk a second time.
Yes.
In September of last year, you came and spoke at our United Way kickoff.
Yes. Oh, that was so much fun.
I was the campaign chairman.
I
and
loved
it. Was the,
I remember.
The 60s. And you came dressed up. You were
I
such
still
a
have
great
my
sport.
Live United t-shirt.
And I think when we had a few minutes to chat then, and you told me that actually the week of Miss Mississippi last year, had your sister just gotten accepted into a residency program or into medical school?
She had just got accepted to UMC Medical School, and she just completed her first year this summer.
y'all had like 4 major things happen that same
Yes.
month that you
Yes.
became Miss Mississippi.
It was a very intense, the whole summer was very intense. My sister got accepted into medical school. I was crowned Miss Mississippi. Lots of things were going on in our family, and this whole year has been like that. I have always said, and I will continue to say it, that really I think they should give you 4 crowns. Or at least 4 crowns for all 4 members of my family, because it's a team effort. I mean, it has taken the sacrifice and the dedication and just the thoughtfulness and the care of every one of my family members to make this year the best that it can be.
So how's your sister doing?
She's doing great. She was here last night. I was so glad that she got to come because she is actually working full-time now at UMC. She finished her first year. And
in her residency or in medical school?
In medical school.
Okay.
She went to grad school and did a lot of things before she actually got into medical school. So she is doing great, and she's making really good grades. And I think she actually enjoys it, which is hard for me to believe because I fainted after the flu shot. I will not do anything in that field, but I'm just so proud of her, and I just envy her because she knows what she wants, and she's always known that she wanted to do that, and she's going after it full force.
And what kind of medicine does she want to practice?
She hasn't decided yet. She's tried out a few different things. She's shadowed an ophthalmologist and different things like that, but she's still got a couple of years before she has to decide.
And how are your mom and dad doing? Mom
and dad are good. Mom doesn't really know what to do with herself now.
She's going to have a lot of time on her hands.
Yes, she is, exactly. She's probably going to, we're all going to take a vacation at some point. But Mom's doing really good. She held herself together really well during my farewell speech. I wasn't sure exactly how that was going to turn out. I teared up. She teared up. And it just goes to show how close we've become this year and how this year has strengthened all of the family ties. The king is doing well as well, Elvis. He has just had a blast this week, I can tell. He's been cracking jokes left and right. And one of the things that he has always done that has really stuck with me is we'll be at visitation or we'll be at an appearance or something, and we'll make eye contact, and he mouths the word confidence. And he doesn't say it out loud, but I know exactly what he means. And I don't know, that's always stuck with me and always been a little special thing between us. So I hope he continues to do it because I'm still going to need it.
Well, I got to meet your dad just a few minutes ago before we started the interview, and I can tell that he absolutely adores you.
Well,
and that's
proud dad, proud mom, proud sister.
It's hard to be anything but successful when you have that kind of family. You know, when you know there's always a soft place.
It's made such a big difference too, because I can have a really long day. I've enjoyed all of my appearances, and I'm so grateful for all of the people in Mississippi that have invited me to come speak or to come spend the day with them. But some of the days are long. They really are. I mean, there are some days when you're trying to prepare for Miss America and do your appearances and do your mock interviews and still eat and sleep, you know, at the same time. And I always knew that I could come home and have a family that, you know, would be there.
Give me some of the high points of this past year.
So many things just go through my mind. Obviously, the high point of the year that I continuously return to, especially on those long days, is the moment I was crowned. That was the highest point of the year because that feeling, I'll just never forget it. And I can't describe it. Please don't ask me to. But I will never forget it. That was the highest point. But there's also been some other highlights. I got to take a trip to the coast right after the BP oil spill, and that was really interesting. I got to feed rescued sea turtles and really see kind of what was going on the coast. We had a whole weekend down there. I got to spend a lot of time with my grandmother, who I lost in November, a few weeks later actually, and so that was really special for me. That was a good high point. I've also gotten to do some really fun things. I went to the Blairy Batson Hospital several times and visited the children there, handed out teddy bears with our lovely Miss Mississippi Outstanding Team 2010, Christina Bosick, love her. And we just so happened to be there at the same time as the Saints Lombardi Trophy that they won at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And just so happened we got to see it and take pictures with it. And this employee comes up and he says, well, you want to try on the ring? And so we got to try on the Saints Super Bowl ring, and I am a huge Saints fan. Who dat all the way. I love the Saints. That was a big highlight. It was like we were doing something good, and then we also got a little surprise at the end of it. It was a lot of fun. So many things. Obviously, Las Vegas was a big highlight. I mean, 10 days out there, getting to get to know literally a friend in every single state.
Yeah.
Including Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and D.C.
Uh-huh.
That was just the coolest thing to me. I can go to any state and say that I know a beautiful, talented, intelligent young woman in that state. And we did a lot of fun things there. I also recently, a couple weeks ago, I got to drive a 70-ton Army tank. We went to Camp Shelby. My dad got to go. We had a personal tour at Camp Shelby. It lasted 14 hours. It was my longest appearance. It was a lot of fun. And they let us drive an Army tank. I mean, I literally was behind the wheel doing figure eights with it. And it was just,
how fun.
It was so much fun.
Was your dad in there with you?
He was. He got to steer the little top part that spins around.
Did he shoot anything?
We didn't shoot the tanks. I think they're.
You didn't like totally lose control.
Yeah, I think they're a little hesitant to just let random people.
Just civilians who don't know
fire
anything.
tanks.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
But it was just a lot of fun, but then some of the other highlights. Those are the big ones. Those are the ones that just really stick out. But some of the other highlights came in smaller packages, you could say, like the little girl that sent me the Facebook message. Mm-hmm. I went to a lot of elementary schools, not just about tobacco, but with other things this year. And I remember one of my very first schools that I went to, each of the kids, I think there was like over 100 of them, each of them walked out the door and they wanted to give me a hug as they walked out. So I got like 100 hugs that day. And one of the little girls tugged on my dress, and she looked at me and she said, I want to be you when I grow up. And that is such a highlight to me. And it's really something I'll never forget. I remember exactly what she looks like and everything. Kids will come up to me and hand me pictures that they've drawn, and I've kept every single one of them. I'm hoping to make a scrapbook someday. At some point, it hopefully will turn into a scrapbook. Right now, it's just a box full of things. But so some of the highlights came in smaller packages, but there were definitely numerous ones throughout the year.
So what will you do now that you haven't been able to or had time to do, or that you used to do before but kind of had a hiatus with it because you've had a really busy year?
Yeah.
What do you look forward to?
That's a good question. I like to eat.
Yeah. I knew that was going to be the answer.
I love to eat.
I sent a big, huge chocolate gift basket to one of the contestants.
Oh my goodness,
and said,
that's so
chow
sweet.
down tonight,
yes,
because I know y'all do not eat.
No, well, so I do like to eat. I think I'm going to start a new hobby. I'm going to collect carbs and just really try to pick that back up. One of the things that I've been so fortunate about this year, and I know everybody says this, but I tear up every time I talk about it because I really, really mean it. I have the most incredible friends that I could ever ask for. And it's not quantity, it is quality. I have a select few friends that have been to my first pageant, my last pageant, and every single one in between. And just really been so understanding this year. If I had an appearance and I couldn't meet for lunch, or if I missed their birthday because I was out of town, something like that, they were so understanding and so supportive. I mean, they just really wanted me to get as much out of this year as I could. Mm-hmm. And they were so involved in it as well. They came to some of my appearances, and I did get to go to a few football games at Mississippi State and see them. So I think I'm going to do my best to repay them for that, to give back a little bit for all the sacrifices that they made this year, and really try to spend some time with friends and family too.
So the teased hair is gone.
Yes, this is just
all the
me.
Big glam makeup is off.
Yeah.
No more evening gown and great big high heels and dance routines to learn, and so
just me.
Just you.
But at the same time, it's not just me. I'm the exact same person that I was last year, bucket or crown. I'm always the same underneath. But there are differences. There are all improvements, all good things. My life has really been so changed. I've learned so much about myself. One of the things that I wasn't very good at before this year was asking for help. Just never really did that. And now I'm really good at it. I might make a career out of it. I'm really good at asking for help. I've gotten really good at laughing at myself, letting things just kind of roll off when things don't go exactly the way you want them to. And so I'm exactly the same person. I'm still me, but there's some differences too. There's some things that I have received and benefited from this year that will never go away.
What advice would you give to young girls who are maybe starting to go on this path?
Well, I mentioned earlier Facebook messages, and I'm not really a Facebook fool or anything, but I have gotten so many messages this year from complete strangers, and numerous messages have asked me, I'm doing my first pageant, how do you walk in high heels? What should I wear? How should I do, things like that. But then they'll also ask, what kind of advice would you give? I think the most important thing, and this is going to be the cheesiest, most trite thing that I can say, but it's so true, is to stay true to yourself, to be yourself. And everybody says that, but everybody says it because it's true. I went to Miss America this year, and I have to admit, I was a little disappointed in not being a finalist or not being able to perform on Saturday night. But I would have been so much more disappointed had I gotten in the top 10 or top 15 or whatever and not done it my way, not been true to myself, had I changed something for somebody because I thought that's what they wanted. And so many times we look at pageants and we see them as superficial, or we see all the stereotypes that go on behind the scenes, and none of that's really true. But you have to remember that it's you on that stage and nobody else, and you wear the dress and you wear the shoes, and it's your time to shine. And if you don't shine through your true self and who you are, then it's not really, it doesn't matter about the results.
I say that all the time. Let people pick you for who you are, not who you're projecting.
Who they want you to be, yeah. And honestly, that is the best way to keep yourself from having regrets. If you know that you did everything you possibly could, if you went at it full force, left no stone unturned, and stayed true to yourself the whole time and didn't change for anybody, how can you have any regrets about the results? How can you look back and say, I should have done this or I should have done that? So that would be my one piece of advice. For the title holders, I have a philosophy that I have developed this year and held on to for dear life. And that is one day at a time. Because, again, not every day is the best day of your life. You're going to wake up and be tired sometimes. Most days are fantastic, unbelievable. But for those days that aren't, you have to just remind yourself to take it all in stride, to keep it in perspective, learn to laugh at yourself, keep the big picture, and just take it one day at a time.
Do you know how many days you had appearances in the last year?
That's hard to say. I know I had well over 120 appearances as Miss Mississippi, which was actually really surprising to me because last year I was talking to my business manager, Karen Jones, who has just been unbelievable this year in helping me out. And she said the average Miss Mississippi makes 70 to 100 appearances during her year. And I asked her just a couple of days ago, about how many appearances do you think we made? Now I'll have to sit down and actually total it up. But she said it was well over 120. And on average, I would say 3 to 5 days a week we would have appearances.
Well, I guess when you're doing 5 a day, Sarah Beth.
Exactly. I know
adds up
we went a little overboard. But, and you know, there were some weeks that we would have off and we would be able to kind of relax and catch up a little bit. But most of those weeks, if we weren't doing appearance, we were preparing for Miss America. So it was tough to balance everything in one year.
A busy year. Very busy year.
Full-time job.
So are you back to school? You're going back to school in the fall?
I am, and I'm so much looking forward to that. I love Mississippi State. I am a Bulldog at heart, and I will be going back in the fall, going through Rush and everything. I'm a Chi Omega, and just starting classes again. And it's going to be so strange to walk on campus and not have to worry about, makeup or any of those kinds of things, and just be a student, just be my age for a little
So how
bit.
much longer do you have left?
I've got about 10 to 15 years left. About 30 semesters. No. I should have about 2 years left.
Okay, so you're a junior?
Yes.
Okay.
That's my technical classification. I'm looking to stretch it out as long as I can.
Dad, is she on the 5-year plan?
Hey, I gotta spend this money somehow.
And it's a good thing.
Well, I've been very fortunate because I have not paid a single dime to go to Mississippi State, and Miss Mississippi has helped out so much with that. We have been awarded over $30,000 in scholarships, and so really I'm just trying to stretch it out as long as I can. If I ever graduate from state, I'm hoping to go to Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee for grad school and earn my MBA in music business.
Excellent.
So we'll see where it goes from there.
Let's talk about the scholarship, because I don't want to end the interview without talking about that.
That's
because,
so important.
You know, I've interviewed several pageant contestants in the last few months, and one thing I've learned is it's not just teased hair and bathing suits and high heels. And that the women that I have met that participate as contestants are actually very high achievers, very driven, ambitious women. And this is about scholarships.
It is. It is a scholarship program. Every single contestant that enters into the Miss Mississippi organization, whether they place or not, whether they get a preliminary award or not, every single contestant gets a scholarship. So just by being in the pageant, you are helping to pay for your education. And like you said, they are ambitious. These girls want to be doctors and lawyers and astronauts. I don't know. I mean, they're all just very, very intelligent. One of my good friends in the pageant has a full ride to Millsaps. Just very smart, driven women.
Yes.
And very powerful. They are competitive, and it's a competitive field to be in. Not so much competing against the other contestants, but competing against yourself to improve yourself. And it's not just about the teased hair and the fake eyelashes and things like that. It is much more than that.
That's what I tell my staff all the time.
Yeah.
Take this one with you. Be the first, be the best, lead the way.
I like that.
Right?
That makes me want to go run laps around the building. I mean, I'm
first.
really motivated right now.
Be the best, lead the way. On Friday
Be
afternoons,
the
that's what we
first,
tell ourselves.
be the best, lead the way.
Got to get through. Be the first, be the best, lead the way. Every day that you wake up, right?
I mean, and that on this stage, you saw 43 leaders. And yes, one of them was crowned, but every single one of them is going to go to do amazing things. And I think that's also one of the reasons we have contestants coming back each and every year. We have one of the largest pageants, the most successful pageants of all the states, and it's because the contestants just keep coming back because they are able to share this experience with other ambitious, driven women just like them.
And we have great leadership in the Miss Mississippi organization.
We do.
Remarkable leadership.
We do, and I've had so much help this year. And I know people joked about how long my farewell speech was, but there was a reason, and it's still going on.
It didn't seem long to me.
Well, thank you.
It seemed
thank
very
you.
thorough. I mean, I would say
thorough.
when it finished, I was like, she said a lot in a short amount of time.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, there was so much to say. I could write a novel of all of the people in the Miss Mississippi organization and just throughout the state that have really reached out to me this year. And it's endless. My farewell speech will never end. I will constantly be just in gratitude.
Well, and I almost hate to give a nod to all the beauty and the pageantry of it and everything, but I do have to say, that red dress, oh my, it was just so amazing.
Thank
you looked so great in it.
Thank you. I love
I hated
red.
to see you leave the stage because the dress was
so
just
sweet.
so beautiful.
That is so sweet. I love red. It's a powerful color. It looks great on stage. And I don't know if you noticed, but when I was playing Molly Brown and singing and dancing and all of those things that Mallory had me doing, I sang about my red silk dress, and so I decided to end the show in a red silk dress.
Yeah, when you were playing the piano, I almost was waiting for you to start like doing the whole Jerry Lee Lewis where you were bouncing.
Yeah.
I kept waiting, but maybe it was you had to have a little more decorum than that.
Well, and I love to get in when I'm playing the piano. I love to get into it. You feel the music, you get your energy from the audience, and all of that. And so there was a little bit of that, but it just depends on the music and all of that. So.
Well, you know, overall, last night, I would say how I would sum up your performance is that you look like you were having a blast.
Oh, I had a great time.
I mean, every time you came out,
time.
I was sitting with my mom and my niece, and every time you came out, I said, she looks like she is having so much fun, you know.
I just enjoyed it so much, and it's so funny that you say that because last year, I was shocked, first of all, to even have my name called out. I thought that they had gotten something mistaken. But when they called out my name, I made my walk, and the judges came up on stage. And I didn't ask them. They volunteered the information. They told me why they picked me, which was really interesting. It wasn't because I was the skinniest or the prettiest or the most talented or even the most intelligent. Every single one of them said they picked me because I looked like I was having a great time. And I was. It was my best year, and I said that before I was crowned. That's really what I want the contestants to embrace and what I hope that they were able to experience this year, because no matter who gets crowned, no matter what you take home, you have those memories. And I will never forget this show. I mean, I will be able to do these dances 50 years from now. I had such a great time, and it was the perfect way to end my year.
What do you think, for people who are watching this and maybe thinking about being contestants, what do you think is or are some of the keys to getting in and out of that private interview in one piece?
The private interview can be very intimidating. It's actually one of my favorite parts of the competition, but as you can see, I like to talk and I like to do these things. Earlier, we talked about being true to yourself, and obviously that is something that's very important in the interview because it comes across. They can tell if you're saying rehearsed answers that you memorized and decided to spill out, or if you are really expressing yourself. So that's very important. But to me, the absolute key of the private interview is confidence. You have got to walk into that room like you own it, like you know you are going to run this interview, and you kind of lead the judges where you want them to go. And it's an art form, honestly. I really had to learn about myself to get good at it. It wasn't so much practicing questions or having different perspectives, but it was gaining that confidence in myself so that no matter what I said or what I believed or what they asked me, I knew that I might not have the answer they expected, I might not have what they thought was the right answer, but I would have my answer, and I would be able to stand behind it no matter what. I have been asked some crazy things. I have been asked if I could be any vegetable on the produce aisle, or any object on the produce aisle, what would I be and why? I've been asked if I could be any part of a bicycle, things like that. I was asked about online dating, really they can ask you anything. So you almost just have to be prepared for anything, and there's no way to prepare for that by studying or by watching the news for 15 hours a day. You prepare for that inside by being ready for anything.
Oh my goodness, and that's such a skill. That's a skill that will serve you well for the rest of your life. Job interviews, graduate school, interviewing other people.
Exactly.
When, you're in your own business or you're in a leadership position or something like that. It does lead me to my final question.
Sure.
And it was a great segue for me. Thank you.
Oh, no, I have so much enjoyed it. I seriously could do this all day.
I was going to say, I bet you have been asked some crazy questions in the last year.
I have been asked some, oh my goodness, they're all coming to my mind right now.
What kind of vegetable would you buy? I mean, where do people come up with that?
I know, exactly. And they're not doing that because they actually want to know what kind of produce you would be. They're doing that to see how you will handle it.
Of course.
And to see if you will be able to use your creativity and your personality in that. And I love the question. At the time I was like, really? But I love the question because it displays so much about how the contestant is able to think on her feet. And a lot of people don't know how relevant that is, but I have had to think on my feet so much this year. I talked a little bit earlier about speaking to the elementary schools. Those kids ask some crazy questions.
Children will ask you anything.
Yes.
And they will say anything.
Yes, they will. And so at the end of my program, I would allow about 10 or 15 minutes for questions. I have been, oh my goodness, I was asked if I've ever been to the moon. I was asked if there was a giant unicorn that we could all fit on, if I would ride with them on the unicorn. I'm not, you can't make this stuff up.
No, you can't.
I have been, I mean, just some really crazy
I had a kid raise their hand one time and ask me what color toenail polish I had on.
Yeah, I mean,
In
it's
a kindergarten
just like,
class.
I know. And
What do you I mean, do you even think they notice stuff like that?
exactly. And some of these kids were they were ahead of me. I would give my tobacco program and they'd be like, well, what about electric cigarettes? And I'm like, these are fourth graders we're talking about.
I know. That's tough when you walk out and you
So-
realize that you're not smarter than the fourth grader.
I know.
Yeah.
Exactly. So really, the interview is the most relevant part when it comes to picking someone who's going to be able to handle the job of Miss Mississippi, because thinking on your feet, they don't tell you what to say. They have never written a speech for me. They have never told me what I should talk about, what my opinion should be. It was all me. And a lot of times it was very unexpected, very unpredictable, and it reminded me a lot of those produce questions in the interview that you are upset about at first. You're like, why are you asking me that? Ask me about illegal immigration or the war in Iraq or the presidency or something. But you see why they want to ask you that, because they want to see how you will handle it.
Handle the situation.
Yep.
Okay, so of all those crazy questions that you've been asked, what are some of the questions that you wished that somebody would have asked you that they didn't?
Do you want something to eat?
Well, I know you want something to eat. We've already established.
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I guess as far as interview, I have always prepared for more political questions. I don't know why, but I love that kind of stuff, and I've always prepared myself to have those opinions, and I have never had that opportunity in the interviews. They always want to get to know my personality, and I'm thinking, like, why? You know, and obviously that is so much more important, but I've always wanted to have one of those really just drilling interviews where I can show all that I've worked for this year and all that I've studied for, and I didn't necessarily have that opportunity at Miss America. It was very, and some of it was very political, but some of it was just personal and more getting to know me, which is also just as important. I guess throughout the year, that's tough. I don't know. They ask me so many questions. I mean, the most common questions are, what's it like? What have you gotten to do? How does it feel? Were you surprised? You know, all of those things.
Oh, good. I didn't ask you any of those questions.
Oh, good. And, you know, I still have not quite been able to come up with the adjective or the description to describe this year, to describe my experiences as Miss Mississippi. And I might not ever really be able to come up with it, but the best word that comes to mind is just unforgettable.
Well, you are an unforgettable person, and
thank you.
I wish you a wonderful year ahead in school.
Thank you so much.
And tomorrow, and actually today and tomorrow, as you sleep and carb load and go eat whatever you want to eat.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, nobody's worried about what I do today or what I eat or any
And you're kind of
that.
glad, really. I can tell.
Well, I will say this. Friday, I was really down. I was really going to miss it. I was giving my farewell speech, and I had a tough time Friday. But I woke up Saturday morning, and I was so clear-minded and so focused. I was like an epiphany. I just had this new perspective. Right when I woke up, I noticed it. and it just came over me. And I relied so much on all of the people that have helped me this week. I leaned so heavily on my friends and my family and the volunteers and all of the supporters, and they really got me through those last few days. But Saturday was just clear and focused, and I had one purpose Saturday. I had one purpose, and I focused on nothing else, and that was just literally enjoying every minute of it. I stretched Saturday out as long as it would go, and literally, I mean, just every single moment, every little detail, I tried to process and put it in a file in my mind, so that I would never so that I would have that to go back to as my last day. So I couldn't have asked for a more perfect ending.
Well, I thank you so much for coming and doing this with me today. You had no obligation to be here.
Oh, no.
And it was great
I got with a
fun,
bang.
and I really, really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. It's really been a pleasure.
Promotional consideration provided by
Amber Sanders from Happy Hair. Get your hair happy at 3402 Wisconsin Avenue.